So the topic of this panel is listening platforms of the future. What role will streaming play in the coming years? Does it have to continue offering artists so little in return? This panel brings together Cal Hickox and Eric Farber of Nina Protocol, a decentralized music platform and digital editorial imprint, to discuss how new technologies can reshape the way that music is released, shared, and supported online. Just for some more background on Nina Protocol, it was founded in New York City in 2021, and it gives artists and labels full ownership over their files and data, while allowing them to define how their releases are distributed. By storing music and metadata on public blockchain infrastructure, Nina offers a more open, permanent, and equitable alternative to traditional streaming platforms. Cal is the head of music operations at Nina, and Eric is the COO and co-founder at Nina. Just to begin, one of the things that I thought we could talk about is you both come from music backgrounds and so are familiar in different degrees with the existing structures for sharing and releasing music. I'm curious what some of the initial issues or gaps were in existing streaming that you hoped to remedy with Nina.
I think that when we first started building it, there was not this like totally grandiose thing of like, we're going to solve every problem. But me and the other two co-founders all came from like DIY tape culture, where everyone was in really small scenes and would, print their own CDRs, print their own cassette tapes. And one of the initial opportunities we saw with this new technology was to kind of recreate that. Make these kind of smaller mechanisms where like big streaming is very one size fits all. And we're like, what if we make a thing where someone makes a release and puts it online, but they say there's 20 of them. And it's the same as if someone makes 20 tapes and gives them out at a house show. And you can kind of do this like collecting. I think that was sort of the starting point. And there was also a big thing where like, I guess some of the gaps that we wanted to fill was it seemed like there was a empty space to create an alternative to all the existing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like as we've gone on with this project from the impetus to create Nina as this maybe more smaller DIY oriented thing to encompass more of the problems that face big streaming, I think one of the things that we see artists struggling with is this like idea of a platform monoculture where, you're on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon, whatever, all of those, like a lot of the experience of discovering music and listening to music is stripped of context. And through that, we lose this like idea of scenes. And I think with Nina, we wanted to bring like this passion back to music discovery, this excitement of finding these different little pockets of music scenes, because I think that's what we all came from different. I'm more of like electronic music scene in New York and America. But Eric's scene and my scene overlapped. Like we had a lot of mutual friends, but these are very distinct scenes. And on Nina, the way we grew it was just by reaching out to people that were in adjacent scenes to ours. And then that kind of had this slow viral effect. It's the slowest virus ever to infect global music scenes. But, I think we wanted to build it on top of real music scenes rather than just on top of like technology.
Yeah.
For its own sake. Yeah.
And I mean, this interest in foregrounding scenes seems to have informed how Nina has like developed over the years. I was wondering if either of you could talk about how Nina has changed and some of the ways it's expanded.
Sure. So we really moved in like baby steps from the beginning, where at first it was like, can we make one thing that is shared online and people can buy it? And then as soon as we made that, we were like, wait, a lot of our friends probably want to use this. And then we were like, okay, can you do albums? Can we give other people permission? So we put the basic infrastructure in place for people to upload and sell music. And then we were kind of like, now what? And taking this inspiration from the way that scenes exist, we wanted to make a way for that to be paralleled on Nina. So the next thing we made was this thing called hubs, which have been like a blessing and a curse, because they're really generic, where like it can be a group of people, it can be a label, it can be a playlist. So they're very flexible, but that also kind of inherited this issue of sometimes the robustness can be like unclear to people. But the basic idea for them, for hubs, and for them to be kind of open-ended was so that, if you and your friends make beats together, you can all have the same account. You can all upload to it. The same way that if you knew a group of like 4 people, you could just hang out with all 4 of them at once. We wanted to make a digital representation of what groups of people can be. And, people can be members of various things. People can collaborate with one another. So that was kind of the swing that we took at recreating scenes. And then there's been other behavior that kind of happens organically where we were really focused on trying to make like horizontal discovery and contextualization, whereas most other DSPs, it feels like you go down their funnel and then they steer what you're fed, and it like always eventually ends with Drake. And we wanted it to be that, you can see who collected stuff, you can see who follows each other, you can see who has like favorited each other's things. And it's kind of a bit more like MySpace used to be when it was like top 8, where you feel like you're going sideways and you're, finding someone's friend or like a real fan of someone. And another part of the inspiration for that was, to date myself, you're like on SoulSeek. Sometimes you'd find something that you really liked and you'd go and you would look at the collection of the person that uploaded. And, you might have been there to steal Metallica or not Metallica, but like they've uploaded Caetano Veloso. So you just like kind of find unrelated things through a person. And we wanted to do our best to recreate that sort of exploration discovery.
And then, you had Nina nights for a while, which
yes, we
are
did.
The concerts in your office.
Yeah,
was that a way to you wanted to physicalize?
I think that part of it was like, there are blockchain elements related in the way that we store data, and when we were doing this, there was all sorts of things popping up. A lot of people were taking swings at like doing something good, and a lot of people were just trying to extract value from other people. Like we all know that it is a very nefarious space. And we were interested in it because we were like, we're not into the speculation or the reselling or the upside, but we were very into publicly stored data. But we got a really bad rap where we weren't crypto enough for the crypto people and we were too crypto for the music people. So it's like no one fucked with us from either side. So part of doing the concert series was kind of to, be like, come over, like hang out with us, shake our hands, see that we're normal people. And then the office kind of itself became like a node of, we'd see the same people that would come through that we only knew through there. And I think that we wanted to just kind of like socialize ourselves with people as people instead of just like a scary online entity. And then all of a sudden the Nina Nights turned into their own little thing. And they were really great. And at the office, like we break down all the computers and move the desks out of the way, and we have these really killer speakers in there. And I think that there's a very kind of special thing that happened there where like it's not a bar and it's not a venue and it's not an art gallery. It's like all of those things have, their pros and cons, but it felt like a kind of neutral space where, I don't know, it was always, shows would be like 2 acts, just like come by, it's free
Bud Light
and
beer. I hope they don't have that in Finland. The beer's better here, but yeah, it was. I think like sort of like what Eric was touching on is we kind of had to like, I think if we're being perfectly honest with ourselves, make up for like a really like arcane product that we were like, oh, this at one point in time we would joke about Nina like this is the hardest way to buy music online. And there were artists that saw something with what we were building, maybe not around like the blockchain aspect and more around like the scenes that we were interested in platforming and building for. So we used the shows to kind of like give us time to build something that removed the stuff from Nina that was annoying or people didn't like and build on top of the scenes that were already using the site. And eventually we relaunched Nina at the end of 2023 as like a way more usable site, which allowed people to use like emails to log in, to pay with cards, to use the internet as like you're used to, not like using this like new version of the internet that some tech people think is the future, but is actually just annoying and difficult and frustrating. So we had to meet the scenes where they were, and I think doing the shows is a big part of that, and bridging that gap.
Yeah. And then you also launched an editorial side of things. So, I mean, Nina regularly publishes interviews both in video and written format. If you could talk a little bit about the development of that.
Yeah, no, I think we started to, there was all this interesting music that was on Nina, and a lot of it was exclusive to Nina. A lot of it was just existing in the plurality of places that music can be distributed. It's still like that, but we were like, how do we legitimize what's going on this platform? And we would send it to like contacts at different websites and be like, you want to cover this like cool release that this like artist in Nairobi uploaded that like we're obsessed with in our office? And they're like, this is interesting, but like, what is going on here? Like, what is this weird platform? Who is this artist? And we're like, oh, well, actually there's such a big gap for covering artists, and it was kind of low-hanging fruit for us to start an editorial vertical, and that served one purpose of just bringing more attention to the music that was being released on Nina, and like sort of creating like a digital reality around it. And then it also just helped other artists see like, oh, like there is something real happening here. So it was sort of like a carrot on the stick for us, where it's like, oh, you know, like if you get on Nina, then there's all these different ways that we can cover you. And we tried to do it in ways, it's a challenge now that there's so much music coming on, but for a while we were really trying to like find a way to cover like every single release on Nina. Now it's not possible, but we at least try to give like everybody a fair shot of coverage and being surfaced in different ways that we can. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, I guess you mentioned video. We, you know, launching an editorial vertical at the end of 2023, we quickly learned a lot of the lessons that all like digital music blogs had learned over the last 10 years, which was mostly like, damn, like people don't really read stuff online anymore. People like posts. They like the idea of these articles existing, and they like that artists that they like are being featured in them, but they don't actually read them. Like I see the data, and it's really humbling, but it doesn't stop us from covering stuff, because like we're like, this is vital, but it's also sad at the same time. But we're like, all right, well, what is the video is the currency of like attention today, and we basically started doing like lo-fi experiments. I mean, there's still lo-fi. It's just like an iPhone and a $20 TikTok mic, and a CapCut Pro subscription. But there's a lot you can do with that. And we realized that just doing these short video interviews with artists, mostly when they're in New York, was a way to reach a lot more eyeballs. It's like I guess in marketing terms, like great top of funnel marketing, because a lot more people will actually get like the aura of the artist. We've been talking about aura farming, a new Gen Z concept for you. I mean, we're moving on to Gen Alpha soon for ideas, exactly. but yeah, like these videos actually give you a sense of like who the artist is and why they're interesting in a way that text hasn't. So that's something that we're like continuing to explore, and interviewing some artists here this weekend.
Do you find that there's any generational differences with the artists? We talked about this, but like, you know, a lot of Gen Z artists are used to self-marketing in ways that can be uncomfortable, I'm sure, for artists who are used to like working with PRs or things like that.
This is like, I don't want this to come out wrong, but like the younger you are, the better you will be on like social video. So like every time we interview a millennial artist or millennial like coded artist, it does not like really cut through. It just like fades into the algorithm. But if an artist is like grew up in this like video native time, like has like the TikTok algorithm like in their mental DNA, then it works a lot better. And it's we're trying to like coach the older people into just being like, you know, don't like babble, just like say something cool. And
we're babbling.
It's tough. Yeah. I'm personally too old to ever be a good candidate to be featured in one of our videos, but yeah, I don't know. It's like if you're 19 and you're like making cool, weird, like post Young Thug rap, like let's do an interview because it's gonna pop off.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I also think that there's one other part of the, I guess, like story of us starting to do editorial and finding the need for it is a few years ago, people were really hesitant to upload. Some people were really hesitant to upload to Nina because like no one wants to be kind of the first person to be trying something new. So people were hesitant to upload, and existing press didn't really know how to write about things because it's outside of the release cycle. So we were kind of like, let's just do it ourselves and like kickstart things from both sides. And it seems to have kind of worked. Like it encourages people to write about releases on there, and it does encourage people to release. So it was one of those things where like at no point did we ever plan like let's start an editorial thing, but we got kind of worked into this corner where it seemed like the best thing to do. And then it like really fit naturally alongside everything else.
As like the editorial side has grown, have you noticed that more and more record labels are also uploading projects to Nina, or is it mainly independent artists?
There have been a lot more labels in the last year or so. It's kind of hard to say, is it because of editorial or is it because, like, there's a lot of sort of chicken and the egg situations where, you know, once someone at a big label might see an interview that clicks with them, and then they're like, okay, I want to do this. And then someone might see that that label is participating. So they're like, if I want to do it, like then if they are doing it, I want to do it too. So things are growing, and you know, I guess this is a bit kind of like startup lingo-y, but we're kind of trying to identify what those like best growth loops are. Of like, what is the part of our product that people like the most? What is the way that they can share it that is the best for them? And what is the thing that like will make people super stoked to share it with their friends?
Yeah, and I think another thing that we ask ourselves a lot as more of these labels come on is like, is Nina even right for these labels? Like, or do they is our existing infrastructure like what's best for them? Because I think a lot of the stuff that, and we want everybody, don't get me wrong, and I think we're trying to find ways to make it work, but what's interesting with the stuff we see on Nina that performs the best, a lot of it is stuff that isn't coming from a major label, is coming from an artist that uploaded it themselves, that has their own kind of like organic fan base or scene around them, and their friends are on Nina, and they're able to kind of like hype each other up and be more endemic to the platform. I think we're trying to do the same thing for record labels now, but I think it's the most exciting part of Nina is always going to be this like feeling like this like A&R aspect to it. And I know a lot of friends at these like bigger labels are using Nina for their A&R, and I think that's like the coolest thing to us. But yeah, it's always just a delicate balance of like maintaining the vibe or something.
Yeah. I mean, a term that you've used quite a bit, and when we had first talked, is transparency to describe like the ethos of Nina in terms of access to metadata and numbers. Have you found that people like more easily or more, I don't know, quickly are able to like log on and use the platform, or do you still have to like field a lot of emails explaining to people how to use things?
No, I mean, as the tech support guy, I think it's gotten easier. So Yeah, thanks, Eric, for fixing all those bugs. No, I think we just want like the website to feel legible, and I think removing any like ambiguities that exist for people, which is always difficult when you're working in like tech and especially have like a blockchain component. I think people are rightfully like cautious, or like they're like scam sense is up or something. And we do feel that a lot with Nina, but I think every time that stuff comes up, it's like a lesson for us to improve our product and improve how we communicate.
There also were some things like when we first launched, part of the reason that we were motivated to build this was because we were all plugged into existing communities. And we're like, I'm going to hit up all these people that I grew up with and everyone's going to love it. And we learned very quickly that like not everyone loved it or cared. But when we launched it and we were sharing it with people, we kind of found ourselves in this reality of being like, if someone thinks that this is bullshit and when you have to like twist their elbow to do it, like that's fine. They don't have to. And there's been these things where like there will be an email thread of trying to get someone to upload, 3 years ago that went cold. And then like now they'll like email us and be like, okay,
now we want to upload.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard to get people to use it at one point in time, and yeah, I'm often getting these 3-year-old replies like, "Is it too late for me to use this thing?" And I'm like, "No, it's actually the right time because it's going to be a lot easier for you."
Mm-hmm. Were there other like hangups that people expressed besides the blockchain element? Other reasons why people seem reluctant?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a good time to touch on like the revenue stuff and like where we're going with that.
Sure. So I guess I like how Cal is front loading this because this is a question that we sometimes try to avoid that always comes up, where on Nina, artists keep 100% of their sales. And that was kind of like our idea from the beginning. We're like, because we can use blockchain for infrastructure, we won't have to maintain all this shit. We don't have to take a cut. We learned very quickly that telling people that they keep 100%, they immediately go to what's the catch. So I think that is like another thing that gave people hesitation. They just didn't trust it. They're like, something's fishy here, but 100% is 100%. We have not monetized at all in the last few years. This year, we're going to be introducing a community revenue share where if you make a track that costs $5 and I send Cal a link and I'm like, check out Philip's awesome new track. Cal buys it. He might get charged like $5.60. You still get your $5. I get a little piece of it for referring to him. Other people that are involved it's like reward splitting. It kind of is like Twitter ad revenue sharing, but without the ads. So that's like a very long-winded, obtuse answer of like what makes people hesitant 3 years ago. But
yeah, so we're turning on monetization, but in a way that is like Nina native, and along with that, like a bunch of other tools coming on, like merch, and we're going to be turning on a lot of stuff that's more like in beta that we've been refining, and I think that's going to help with like just even making this thing more transparent when we're always like aware of kind of our blind spots.
Yeah. I think now would be a great time to open up to audience questions also.
Is this still on? Yeah. All right, perfect. All right, Laura, any questions? No? All right. Okay, yeah, I have a few questions here. I think she was first, and then I'll give it to you.
Hi, yeah, I want to kind of continue on the monetization part. So I've been wondering that with different selling digital streaming platforms, there's a risk of being bought out by a company, for example. How do you think that Nina would deal with that situation if there came an opportunity to be bought out or get a good deal or whatever? And do you feel like you have a pressure to start start introducing like subscription fees for the members or something like that?
So this is actually something one of the things that inspired us to build this was to be like platform resilient. And this is something that we've stopped talking about because, like, you know, you're asking a question because you're interested in this. People that don't care about it, like, their eyes glaze over if you talk about like platform resilience. But part of the reason that we wanted files to be stored on chain is so that, like, if you upload your catalog and you've released 20 records, and then for some reason, like, I don't know, the whole Nina team dies in a car crash. If we stop to exist for any reason, all your files will continue to be there. People will be able to continue to purchase them no matter what happens to us. That was what motivated us to jump through the hoops of making things on chain. So that, like, if we're acquired or if anything happens, the things that you made and the payment rails for people to support you will be there, like, as long as the blockchain is up.
Yeah, maybe to answer another side of your question, I think that we, you know, eventually we can't, like, we have to figure out ways to make money, and that's, like, honestly what we're most focused on right now. But the base of Nina that exists now, like the primary state of it is this, like, open source public thing. And yeah, we're gonna be turning on switches that would allow us to, you know, this community revenue share that Eric talked about, or merch, like value add services where we're able to take a cut and monetize the platform. But these are things that aren't touching the, like, primary experience. And I think that's what we want to remain intact in Nina, is, like, this ability for, like, peer-to-peer selling and sharing of music. And yeah, it's inevitable that it'll change, but I think, like, the way that it's technically structured is resilient to, like, different kind of, like, maybe like an Epic Games Bandcamp style, like, maybe there's going to be, like, music licensing attached to it down the road. Like, that's wouldn't really work with how Nina is structured. But, you know, it's also, like, a business at the end of the day, so we have to figure it out and preserve it, but hopefully in the right way, right? Yeah.
And you were next, right?
Yeah. I have two questions. The first one is just like, do you guys earn money from this?
No.
No. Okay.
Like ourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've raised
Like this because this is your job.
It's our job. We this is all, like, public stuff, but we sold 17% of Nina to, like, investors that are interested in the project. So
Okay. And the next one is like, so for now the platform kind of caters towards a very specific kind of niche crowd, and scene, which is why I use the platform and find it fucking cool, you know? But now, as it grows, how do you see, like, it will probably get more and more other artists not from this scene coming to this platform. Do you see any, like, problems or issues?
So I think that when we started, people were like, we love the curation. We're like, there is no curation. Like, we just let people come on, and the Nina core sound has turned into a very cool thing that has its own flavor and, you know, has evolved and changed. And I don't think that there being more genres or more different scenes, like, puts that at risk. I think that those things can live side by side, and that's kind of been the plan the whole time, is to have multiple nodes, multiple types of things. I think that there will be overlap, and we also don't have the sorts of things where, like, there's no, like, top streaming charts. So, you know, someone can't, like, bot their own releases so that they go to the top of the things. The way that we recommend things to people is through actual user interactions, where, like, if someone has many collects or many people follow them, many people listen to it, like, then we'll start showing it to you. If it is, you know, 1 or 2 steps away from things that you are listening to and liking. So we've been designing this to be the kind of thing that there can be, you know, infinite amounts of music on it, and hopefully you still get to find the stuff that you like.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? Can I ask again? Of course, go ahead.
You earlier touched upon Nina being kind of like an A&R service, or like an A&R service. What do you kind of mean by that?
I think I guess to clarify, like I don't even, I think it's like you can discover a lot of music on Nina that you wouldn't discover anywhere else. And I think that's kind of what I mean by it. And I feel like if you're just like searching through the new releases or the stuff we featured, there's always this like juxtaposition of bigger like legacy artists and legacy labels alongside people that are just like operating outside of their bedroom in whatever city or whatever country. And I think we want to be like a springboard for these really interesting artists to go deeper into music. And I think compared to a lot of different music platforms or editorial platforms, we pay a lot more attention to like the artists, like the sort of like grassroots scenes and artists. And I think we're able, through the data, the public data of Nina, we're able to see what artists like are really resonating inside their own scenes. And a lot of like what we do with editorial is just informed by the data that we have. And I think we've been able to play a small part in the rise of like what we call, they don't call themselves this, I hope, but like Nina core artists, where it's like these are people that we clocked really early on in their career, and now they're like touring all over the place, and living like these big lives outside of our platform because they make great music. I'm sure this would have happened anyway, but we at least we were there early with them, and I think that's really exciting for us.
Can I ask another technical question? You mentioned earlier that you have like some labels working or like uploading their music to Nina. Do you have any collaboration with like other digital aggregators with like, for example, uploading catalogs or like bigger bulk releases if labels were to get more into this?
We literally this week started building like bulk ingestion so that we can start working with distros, or so that right now labels have to sit and upload everything by hand. So yeah, we are growing into that like paradigm.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, and the other thing that on top of that is we're having a partnership now with Merlin, which maybe the industry music people here know what that is, but it's like the fourth major where it's like a trade body that represents tons of independent music labels. So we're going to have a pipeline through them specifically of a lot of their labels that like opted into our program. And that's going to help us build the infrastructure for people that are outside of that as well.
All right, any other questions? I think you were first.
Hi, thank you. I'm Vilma. I get a question. You talk about the technical part and about like the future, like what are you going to do with the distribution and everything. So can I just ask basically, what is your goal? How do you see the vision of the app? Like, where is it going, or the whole system? Like, what is the goal for you? I don't know if you covered it in the beginning. I'm sorry if I missed it.
No, I don't think that we have talked about a goal. I think that if we can continue to exist and we can continue to give artists and listeners like a better experience than the monolithic like DSP culture that we're in right now, I think that will be an accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you say again what was the last part? Sorry.
If we can continue to exist and continue to be a thing that is like equitable and beneficial for the people that use it, I think that will be an achievement.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I know you probably can't share like the biggest visions, maybe where to like distribute it, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think just adding on to that, I don't think we're under the illusion that we're going to replace Spotify or SoundCloud or any of these big things that in their own rights have built really great products and services. But I think there's really good opportunity for us to be like the place where you listen to and discover like independent music. Like, and I think that we're not going to be the place where you can like listen to Drake next to, you know, like, I don't think we're trying to get to the place where we have like all the major catalogs on, but I think we want to be like the best place for independent music to exist and thrive online. And that means getting outside of our comfort zone, like scene wise, like what you were talking about, like it does feel like a very maybe specific or niche thing right now, but that's just a reflection of the user base, and it's growing and evolving and changing every day.
Yeah, I also think like a less vague goal that I kind of blanked on that we've been talking about a lot internally is like, if we can become an artist's go-to link, where like when they release a new record, they share everyone the link to their record on Nina, I think that would be a huge win for us.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think there was someone right next to you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I was just curious why it is called Nina. Are there any backstories?
When we were first kind of like prototyping it and drawing out all the shit and trying to figure out what we had to do, we had to like refer to this entity as something. And my partner was calling it Sean as kind of like a shout out to the Napster guys. And after we worked on it for like a day, I just like didn't want to hear him say Sean anymore. And I was like, let's just call it Nina. It's like much nicer to say. And we agreed on that very quickly.
Is your grandmother named Nina?
No.
I thought that was it the whole time. I've been telling people that for years.
We can go with that.
Yeah, his grandmother's named Nina.
No.
All right. Any last final questions before we head for a short break?
Since you're the experts on the subject, I'm just curious to like more on a general note, like where do you think 5 to 10 years from now, how is this gonna, the whole ecosystem of like music and platforms, how is it gonna look? Like what do you think, like on a personal note or on a more general sort of view?
I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess just to like, you know, kind of talk about streaming and not just our thing in it. I think that it seems like people are really fatigued with like the status quo of, you know, all the services that everyone uses. And I think that I think and hope that things are moving back towards a P2P reality rather than like just an algorithmic reality. And it seems like that's kind of hitting with people. Like, you know, I think that that's part of the Nina reality. There's a different music sharing app called Untitled that people are really digging right now because they share things directly. And I know 5 to 10 years from now is very difficult to predict, but it seems like, you know, the algorithm and the feed, both in like music and social media, are like so ubiquitous and so powerful that it's like kind of hard to imagine a reality without them. But I feel like people are sick of it and figuring out how to make smaller things around it. So I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years from now, it's like either there is just one product that does everything and all of us use that and like we all have the same name, or there'll be like new smaller things, hopefully.
All right. I'd say unless someone has like a very, very urgent question. All right. Okay, this is the final question.
I was just curious about your guys' approach to algorithm. Is it different from other streaming platforms, or how do you like recommend new music?
Ours is very simple right now, and we're like kind of growing it as it goes. But when you create an account, when you start interacting with things, we basically look like 1 to 2 steps away through our like data graph to see what people are interacting with that is actually kind of geographically near you, so that we can try to give you good recommendations. But the algorithm is not a super complicated thing right now.